Bueno, muy buenos días. Un placer estar aquí en el Departamento de la Tesorería, en el cuarto de dinero. No veo el dinero, pero bueno, dice que es el cuarto del dinero. En esta reunión para abocar para el futuro de nuestra comunidad económicamente. So for those of you who are terrorized, I might continue in Spanish for a few moments. Let me say I'm thrilled to be here at the Treasury Department. Janet, thank you for your very, very gracious introduction. More importantly, for your leadership. It's good to be alongside you in all of these battles, and we appreciate so much what Latinos Unidos does in our work in every dimension. We're here at a summit appropriately titled Invested in the Economic Future of the Latino Community, because all of us in this room believe the same thing, that the hopes and dreams of Latinos are central to the promise of America. Earlier this week, I said this exact phrase when introducing Dr. Adriana Kugler at her nomination hearing to serve on the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserves. Dr. Kugler is a first-generation American, the daughter of immigrants from Colombia, and a shining example of our ability to rise above our station in life. I have forcefully advocated for her nomination, and I am pushing as hard as I can for her confirmation, because the Latino community sees themselves reflected in her success. Only in America are stories like hers even possible, which to me is part and parcel of what makes our country exceptional. Since the earliest days of our nation, Latinas and Latinos have played integral roles. We fought valiantly in every conflict since the Revolutionary War. We've unlocked towering scientific achievements that stand the test of time. And every single day, millions of our fellow Americans enjoy the food, music, and culture that we create. In countless ways, Latinos help the United States shine as a beacon of hope around the world. We're a community more than 62 million members strong, wielding an economic output of nearly $3 trillion, at consequential decision-making tables from the marble halls of Congress to the executive suites of Fortune 500 companies. Latinos are blazing trails and leading the way. So to those who question whether our time is now, to those who downplay, or worse, attack our growing presence in American life, I say this: ignore us at your peril, deny us opportunities at your risk, but the Latino community is here and now and growing and is integrally part of America. We are a force to be reckoned with, and as such, we will continue to assert our rightful place. I begin my remarks today with such bold pronouncements because if we don't count our accomplishments, no one will. History shows us who writes the story. I don't know how many of you saw Hamilton, but in any event, who writes the story? If we don't tell our stories, others will fill the void and tell it for us. For too long, Latinos have been marginalized in this way by predominant parts of our society. In the past, we've been thanked for our service, but denied the equal benefits of citizenship. We've become welcomed into homes to cook and clean, counted on to pick produce or provide care to children and seniors, all while being deprived the equal wages of other Americans. To this day, Latinos across our country continue to be denied equal housing through illegal redlining, denied equal credit through discriminatory lending practices, and denied equal opportunity through barriers to economic mobility. We have to end the payday lender and the check cashing place and the pawnbroker as the portal of entry for economic services to our community. That is an essential part of how we begin to create economic mobility. And we need policies from both the financial institutions and others to help us get banks and other institutions to open up the opportunity for a person who doesn't have much to become banked. The economic challenges before us are multifaceted as they are multi-generational. And to address them, we must frankly admit that we have an equity problem in America, a problem that should concern all of us given the essential truths of our founding documents. Last time I checked, the Constitution does not begin with the words, some of the people. It begins with the words, we, the people. But today in America, we see a stark divide in how some enjoy the inalienable rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Think about the very room we're in right now. Think about this historic building that's hosting this summit. Consider what it's like when it bustles with Treasury employees, and consider what it's like after all those people go home. I submit to you that the people who work in this building, or at the White House, or inside the Capitol from the hours of 9 to 5, look very different than the people who work in these buildings from 5 to 9. And I would argue that those who work a shift when the sun goes down are as committed to public service as those who arrive in the morning. So I think about the economic future of the Latino community, and I'm thinking about them. I'm thinking about people with names that may rhyme with Menendez, but who won't show up in the event program you're holding in your hands. I'm thinking about people who disproportionately bear the brunt of record inflation and high interest rates. And I'm thinking about people who, through no fault of their own, are relied upon to fill jobs that others are unwilling to do. I begin my remarks this morning by touching on Dr. Kugler's historic achievement as the first Latina ever nominated to the Federal Reserve. I salute President Biden for doing so. I have been lobbying on this. I'm a member of the Senate Banking Committee and Finance Committee for some time. I've been lobbying at this for some time. But let's be honest, it's shameful that it took nearly 110 years before someone of Latino descent was nominated by an American president. So today we can sit here and talk about all we want about the record of low unemployment rates for Latinos, but progress will never be fully realized until we see parity in terms of home ownership, in terms of access to credit. Access to credit so that our small and mid-sized businesses and our Latina-owned businesses, which are the fastest rate of growth in the country, can grow dramatically, which benefits everyone. Thinking about using our institutions or the Community Reinvestment Act in ways that target the Latino community for opportunity growth, access to credit, terms of opportunity for success. It's well and good that we discuss ways to expand Latino participation in civic and economic life, but achieving racial and economic equity cannot and will not come by executive orders. It takes all of us. It takes a wholehearted approach to advance the cause of Latinos, not just when it's politically expedient or convenient, but every single day. We need a genuine commitment from every corner of every government agency to include Latinos in their planning and their programming. That means treating the so-called Latino issues as American issues, not as afterthoughts to be included later. So I am heartened that Secretary Yellen, who I've often had before the Senate Finance Committee and have raised questions of diversity with her, both in the department and beyond, and her team at Treasury, has put together an event to advance the economic potential of Latinos. But our commitment must go beyond a half-day summit if we are to reverse decades of disinvestment and neglect in our community. It's not the fault of any one decision or one administration alone, but as we come together today, Latinos remain disproportionately unbanked, disproportionately excluded from mortgage lending, disproportionately affected by the whims and wills of the economy. We need economic policies that care less about stock prices on Wall Street and care more about the price of what's in stock on Main Street. We need greater outreach, y también en español, por favor, so that Latinos can access the federal funds, programs, and protections to which they are entitled. And more than anything, we need a governing philosophy that views Latinos not just as a potential labor force, although we are, and not just as a valued demographic, although we are that too, but as an invaluable part of our nation's tapestry. I'm talking about policies that acknowledge people who came to this country with nothing and unfailingly serve as the engine of our economy. I'm talking about treating comprehensive immigration reform not as the third rail of politics, but as the foundation as to how we can support the Latino community. We don't need restrictive visa caps and callous asylum transit bans. Rather, we need concerted efforts to pair seasonal workers with jobs in critical industries. And as part of today's program, you'll hear from policy experts, civil rights advocates, and other leaders who have no doubt studied these issues for years. They will bring to bear research and data analysis and scientific studies, all to further our collective goal of a Latino community that can thrive. I'm hopeful that connections can be fostered between individuals of different backgrounds and skill sets, but above all, I hope that today's effort goes beyond just a half-day summit. I hope that we can begin to center the Latino community in all of our discussions, especially as we work on affording their equal share of the American dream. This has been the guiding principle of my 50 years in public service, 31 of them here in Congress. To me, it's advocacy that's rooted in my upbringing. It's not just something I care about, it's who I am. I was raised by parents who were Cuban refugees. They left everything behind because they didn't like what was going on in their country. So they came here, settling down roots and moving our family into the only place we could afford, a beaten-down tenement in Union City, New Jersey. It was a shoebox apartment before they became popular. But I still remember my mom coming home to the apartment after a full day of work as a seamstress in a local factory, only to start her second shift cooking and cleaning for us as primary caregiver. Every day, despite the long hours and back-breaking demands of her job, my mother would sit me down at the kitchen table and say, Bobby, siéntate aquí y léame tu tarea. And I would say to her, pero mamá, tú no entiendes inglés. You don't understand English. And she said, es lo que tú piensas. Siéntate aquí y lea la tarea. And it taught me the value that she placed in education, even if she didn't have it herself. My mother was a fierce Latina who made enormous sacrifices so that I have an equal shot at the American dream. She never gave up on the promise of America, loving it in the way that only an immigrant can. And so today I serve as a United States Senator because of the values and the work ethic that she passed on to me. It's a quintessential American story. I was the first in my family to graduate from college, the first to earn a law degree, the first to buy a home. But the fact remains that story is very much the exception and not the rule. Our country held up its end of the bargain for me, but now I feel a solemn responsibility to throw open the doors of opportunity so that others can walk through them. Everything I do as a United States Senator is in pursuit of this goal, to create the conditions that allow stories like mine to be told. Every decision I make, whether it's legislation to increase corporate diversity, advocating for Hispanic-serving institutions and programs, cracking down on predatory lending to Latino entrepreneurs, relieving Latino students from the crushing burden of student debt, ensuring that I-10 taxpayers can claim credits to keep their children out of poverty, or building livable communities for minority families. On every decision I make, I am guided by the belief that the economic future of Latinos is intrinsically linked to the economic future of America. If we are to fully participate in civic and economic life, then we need the equal opportunity that we fundamentally deserve. Latinos are patriots. We serve in the armed forces of the United States, have done so for most of the country's history. We work hard, we pay taxes, we dream big dreams. Our ability to rise above our current station in life and earn a slice of America is well documented. It's a skill we learned at home. After all, most of us are only 1 or 2 generations removed from jobs and sacrifices that involve tired feet and callous hands. This is my message as you begin today's meeting. Give Latinos a fair shot and we'll show you what we can do. Invest in us and we will repay you big time. The Latino community has a long tradition of proving naysayers wrong as we climb the ladder of success. And if our hopes and dreams are truly central to the promise of America, then we will not remain silent in the face of denied opportunity. I hope today's summit is a fruitful one. I thank Secretary Yellen for beginning the conversation, and I look forward to what follows on. Thank you so much for having me with you.